Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at what's actually in your food? Not the pretty packaging, not the health claims on the front of the box, but the actual ingredient list. Because what I'm about to share with you today genuinely changed how I look at the entire food industry, and I think it's going to change how you look at it too. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Monroe, and today we are going behind the label on the 10 so-called foods that are doing real biological damage inside your body every single day, many of which you've probably eaten this week. And here's what's different about this video. I'm not just going to hand you a list and say, avoid these. Anyone can do that. What I'm going to do is explain the exact mechanism, the actual chain of events happening inside your cells, so that by the end of this video, you won't need willpower to avoid these things. You'll just understand what they are, and you won't want them anymore. We're going to start with number 10, and work our way down to what I genuinely believe is the single most toxic substance most people put in their bodies every single day without knowing it. Stay with me through all 10, because the ranking matters, and the last one on this list is going to surprise you. But before we get into the list, I need to give you the framework I use when I think about food, because the word food gets applied to things that have absolutely no right to carry that label. Real food does 3 things. It gives your body fuel, the raw energy your cells need to function. It provides building blocks, the proteins, minerals, and fatty acids your body uses to repair and grow tissue. And it contains catalysts, the vitamins, enzymes, and cofactors that make all of those biological processes actually work. That's it. Fuel, building blocks, catalysts. That's food. Whole minimally processed food contains all 3. But here's what happens when we industrially process food. We systematically destroy all 3 of those components. We strip out the nutrients to make things shelf-stable. We replace the fat with chemicals to make it low-calorie. We add synthetic flavor compounds to trick your brain into thinking something tastes good. And then we put it in a bag, with a picture of a sun-ripened tomato on the front, and call it food. It isn't food anymore. And here's the other side of that equation. Some of these substances don't just fail to nourish you, they actively interfere with how your body functions. Your nervous system is constantly sending and receiving signals. Your brain receives around 1 billion bits of information every second from your joints, your gut, your muscles, your environment. Managing those signals is what health actually is. When a substance blocks, distorts, or overexcites those signals, that substance is a poison by definition, regardless of what the label says. Keep that definition in your mind as we go through this list. Number 10. Any product labeled non-fat, low-fat, or reduced fat. Non-fat yogurt, low-fat peanut butter, fat-free salad dressing, non-fat sour cream. I want you to stop for a moment and think about what it takes to make a naturally fatty food fat-free, because the fat in those foods, the fat that nature put there, was doing something. It was providing flavor, richness, satiety. It sent a signal to your brain that said you've had enough. It helped your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. That fat had a purpose. So when food manufacturers remove it, they're not just taking away one ingredient, they're dismantling the entire experience of that food. And then they have to rebuild it synthetically. They add sugar to replace the sweetness that fat used to carry. They add artificial stabilizers to mimic the texture. They add synthetic flavor compounds to approximate the taste. What you end up with is a chemical reconstruction of a real food, with none of the original nutrition, significantly more sugar, and a longer ingredient list than a shampoo bottle. The fat that was in full-fat yogurt, in real mayonnaise, in natural peanut butter, that was healthy fat. Unprocessed, naturally occurring fat is not your enemy. The chemical substitute they replaced it with absolutely is. My rule is simple: if a product exists in a full-fat and a low-fat version, buy the full-fat version. Or better yet, eat the actual whole food it came from. Number 9 is Deli Meats, and this one is more nuanced than the others on this list, so I want you to pay close attention. Because I'm not here to tell you that all processed meat is equally harmful. The problem isn't the meat itself. The problem is what the industry adds to the meat. When you take a high-quality cut of meat from a pasture-raised animal, slice it, and package it without adding anything artificial, that can be an excellent protein-rich food. But that's not what most deli meat is. Most deli meat contains sodium nitrite as a preservative, which under high heat converts to nitrosamines, compounds strongly associated with colorectal cancer in the research literature. Many contain added sugars, artificial smoke flavoring, and a long list of stabilizers and fillers. And hot dogs, let's be honest about hot dogs, are a category unto themselves. The meat content can be as low as 10 or 15%. The rest is fillers, fat trimmings, binders, and preservatives. If you're going to eat deli meat, read the label carefully. You're looking for short ingredient lists, ideally just the meat, water, salt, and perhaps a natural preservative like celery juice. Organic, pasture-raised sources are far better. But if you're grabbing a tube of hot dogs from the refrigerator case without reading a single ingredient, you're not eating food, you're eating a chemistry experiment. Number 8. Genetically modified organisms. GMOs. The primary ones you need to know about are corn, soy, and sugar beets, though the list is growing. Now I want to be careful here, because this is a topic surrounded by both legitimate science and a lot of noise. So let me give you the core concern as I understand it. Genetically modified crops are engineered to express traits they don't naturally have, most commonly, resistance to herbicides like glyphosate, or the ability to produce their own pesticide proteins. The issue isn't that genetic modification is inherently evil. The issue is that we've introduced novel genetic sequences into organisms that we've then put into the human food supply, on a mass scale, in a relatively short period of time, and the long-term effects on human gut flora and the immune system are not fully understood. Your gut contains trillions of microorganisms, and there is growing research suggesting that genetically modified proteins can interact with that ecosystem in ways we don't yet fully understand. Your safest strategy is to seek out products labeled non-GMO project verified, and when it comes to the highest risk crops, corn and soy in particular, go organic whenever possible. Certified organic is legally required to be non-GMO, which makes that label your most reliable protection at the grocery store. Number 7 is one that I feel very strongly about: commercial vegetable oils and anything deep fried in them. I'm talking about canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil, the oils that dominate restaurant kitchens and line entire aisles in grocery stores. These are marketed as heart-healthy and light. They are neither. Here is what these oils actually are. They are polyunsaturated seed and bean oils that are chemically extracted using high heat, hexane solvents, bleaching agents, and deodorizers. By the time they reach your bottle, they have already been oxidized, they've already gone partially rancid, and they are loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Your body needs some omega-6, but modern diets already have far too much, and excessive omega-6 intake is directly pro-inflammatory at the cellular level. Now here's where it gets worse. When these already compromised oils are heated to deep frying temperatures, which happens every time you order French fries or fried chicken at a restaurant, they undergo further oxidation and produce toxic byproducts including aldehydes, which are the same class of compounds found in cigarette smoke and are associated with DNA damage. And in a restaurant, that oil has been heated and reheated dozens or hundreds of times. If you're cooking at home, use oils that are stable at heat. Extra virgin olive oil for low to medium heat, butter or ghee for medium to high heat, coconut oil for high heat. These are fats that humans have been consuming for thousands of years, in forms close to how they occur in nature. That's the standard I apply. Number 6. White flour, modern wheat, and everything made from them. And this is a larger category than most people realize. Every box of breakfast cereal, every cracker, every slice of commercial bread, every waffle and pancake mix, every pasta in a blue box. This category touches almost every aisle in the supermarket. Let me explain two separate problems here. The first is the refining process. White flour is what you get when you take whole grain wheat and strip away the bran and the germ, which is where the fiber, the B vitamins, the minerals, and the beneficial fatty acids live. You're left with the starchy endosperm, which has essentially zero nutritional value. It is pure refined carbohydrate that your body converts to glucose almost immediately, causing rapid blood sugar spikes. But the second problem is actually the bigger one, and it doesn't get discussed nearly enough. Modern wheat is not the same plant that humans ate even 50 years ago, let alone the wheat our ancient ancestors cultivated. Through decades of intensive hybridization, not genetic engineering, but conventional crossbreeding programs aimed entirely at maximizing yield, modern wheat has been transformed into a plant with significantly higher gluten content, different gluten protein structures, and dramatically higher levels of a compound called amyloleptin A, which actually raises blood sugar more than table sugar does. The ancient wheat varieties, einkorn, emmer, spelt, kamut, were very different grains. What we call wheat today bears little resemblance to them nutritionally or structurally. And when you look at what we're making from this modern wheat, children's cereals that combine refined flour with GMO corn, synthetic dyes, artificial flavors, and a sprinkle of synthetic vitamins to make the label look nutritious, I genuinely struggle to call that food. Avoid it. All of it. Number 5 is where we shift from foods that have been depleted of nutrition to substances that are genuinely biologically toxic. Monosodium glutamate, MSG, and the broader family of compounds called excitotoxins. MSG is a flavor enhancer, and the way it enhances flavor tells you everything you need to know about what it does in your body. Glutamate is a neurotransmitter. Your nervous system uses it naturally to send excitatory signals between cells. When you add MSG from an external source, it doesn't just enhance the food. It hijacks your nervous system. It overstimulates the taste receptors on your tongue and simultaneously overexcites the neurons in your brain that process flavor and reward, tricking your brain into registering something as far more delicious and satisfying than it actually is. That's why you can't stop eating flavored chips. That's why Chinese restaurant syndrome is real. You feel the stimulation, the pleasure, the I have to have more drive. And then, about an hour later, you crash, because you've driven those neurons past their functional threshold. In the most severe cases, with repeated high-dose exposure, you're not just fatiguing neurons, you're killing them. That's why these compounds are called excitotoxins. MSG is in virtually every canned soup on the market. It's in flavored chips and crackers. Anything beyond basic salt flavor almost certainly contains it. It hides on labels under names like hydrolyzed vegetable protein, autolyzed yeast extract, natural flavors, and yeast extract. Learn those terms. They all mean the same thing. Your brain is being chemically manipulated into overeating. Number 4. Refined sugar, and more specifically, the way we consume it as a liquid. Now, sugar is interesting because unlike most things on this list, it's not a foreign molecule. Glucose is life. Every plant on Earth is built from it. Trees are glucose. Vegetables are glucose. Your brain runs on glucose. So sugar is not poison in the way that MSG or artificial sweeteners are. The problem is dose, form, and delivery speed. Refined white sugar and high fructose corn syrup remove all context. No fiber, no water, no vitamins, nothing to slow down absorption. And when you put that into a liquid, you've created the most dangerous delivery system imaginable. Think about this. A large sweet tea at a fast food restaurant can contain more sugar than 3 cans of soda. A flavored coffee drink can contain 60 grams of sugar. An all-natural fruit nectar drink can contain as much refined sugar as candy. And because there's nothing in these liquids to slow gastric emptying, that sugar hits your bloodstream almost instantly. Your pancreas fires a massive insulin response. Your liver is flooded with fructose, which it can only metabolize in the liver, and excess fructose gets converted directly to triglycerides and stored as visceral fat. Do this repeatedly and you have a direct pathway to fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, and type 2 diabetes. These aren't theoretical risks. They are the documented, well-replicated biological consequences of chronic high-sugar intake. I tell my patients, keep added sugars under 10 grams per day. Count them. Just for a week, count them. You will be shocked by what you find. Number 3. Margarine and trans fats. And I want to spend some time on this one because the story of how margarine became a dietary staple is one of the most consequential mistakes in the history of public health. Margarine is a man-made fat. It starts as a liquid seed oil, the same industrial, chemically extracted vegetable oils we discussed a moment ago. Then it's subjected to a process called partial hydrogenation. Hydrogen atoms are forced into the oil's molecular structure under high heat and pressure, turning a liquid into a solid. The result is a molecule that does not exist in nature. Not one single example of it anywhere in the natural world. And because it doesn't exist in nature, your body has no established mechanism for processing it properly. When trans fats enter your system, they are used as building materials. Your cells incorporate them into cell membranes in place of healthy fatty acids. And when a cell membrane is made from a trans fat instead of a healthy fat, its signaling properties change. Cell membranes are not passive barriers, they are dynamic, intelligent interfaces that regulate everything going in and out of the cell, nutrients, hormones, immune signals. When you adulterate that membrane with a synthetic fat, you distort those signals. This has been implicated in cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, and the cruel irony. The original dietary fat studies that blamed saturated fat for heart disease were conducted during the very era when Americans had largely replaced butter with margarine. They were eating massive quantities of trans fats, thinking they were doing the right thing, and getting sick. The fat that caused that wave of heart disease wasn't butter, it was margarine. Real butter, real ghee, real unprocessed animal fats. These have been part of human diets for millennia. Margarine has existed for about a century. Your biology knows which one it was designed to work with. Number 2. Donuts, commercial cake and frosting. And I put these together not because they're similar products, but because they represent a convergence, a perfect storm of almost every harmful thing we've discussed so far in a single food item. A donut is deep fried in industrial vegetable oil, or partially hydrogenated shortening. It's made from modern refined white flour. It's loaded with refined sugar. It contains synthetic dyes, artificial flavors, and chemical dough conditioners. And the glaze contains more refined sugar and trans fats. There is not a single nutrient of value in a standard commercial donut, not one. And it combines the biological damage of oxidized oils, refined carbohydrates, trans fats, and synthetic additives into a single item that you can consume in under a minute. Cake is slightly different. It isn't deep fried, but commercial cake is made with the same modern refined flour, the same refined sugar, and then topped with frosting that is essentially shortening, which is another name for partially hydrogenated vegetable fat whipped with refined sugar. That frosting is chemically closer to margarine than it is to any real food. If you have a celebration coming up and you want something sweet, there are genuinely excellent recipes using almond flour or coconut flour, natural sweeteners, and real butter. You can have a delicious, satisfying dessert that doesn't do biological damage. But the commercial versions, bought at a bakery or a supermarket bakery section, they are gram for gram among the least nourishing substances you can put in your mouth. And number 1, the single substance I believe is the most harmful thing that millions of people consume every single day while actually believing it's helping them, is artificial sweeteners. Aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, acesulfame K. I ranked these number 1 above everything else on this list for one specific reason: they are not food in any biological sense, they provide zero nutrition, and they are neurotoxic. Let's start with aspartame, which is the most widely studied, and in my view the most dangerous. Aspartame is metabolized in the body into 3 breakdown products: phenylalanine, aspartic acid, which functions as an excitotoxin just like MSG, and methanol. Methanol is wood alcohol. It is the substance that historically caused blindness in people who drank illicit spirits. In the body, methanol is converted to formaldehyde, the same compound used to preserve biological specimens. These are the breakdown products of the sweetener in your diet soda. In the years following aspartame's approval, the FDA received more formal consumer complaints about this single substance than it had received about any other substance in its entire history up to that point. Liver toxicity, kidney damage, autoimmune reactions, neurological symptoms, these are the reported consequences of regular aspartame consumption. Sucralose, sold as Splenda, is a chlorinated carbon compound. Chlorocarbons are chemically related to pesticides, several of which have been banned globally due to their carcinogenic properties. And here's what makes artificial sweeteners particularly insidious: they hide everywhere. Not just in diet sodas, though every diet soda contains them. They're in low-calorie yogurts. They're in sugar-free protein bars and meal replacement shakes. They're in chewing gum, including regular non-sugar-free gum, because manufacturers add them to prolong flavor. They're in children's vitamins and liquid medications. They are pervasive. If you're trying to transition away from diet sodas and you want something carbonated with some sweetness, look for products sweetened only with stevia, which is a plant-derived sweetener with a fundamentally different biological profile. It's not a perfect substitute for everyone, but it is incomparably safer. The core message here is this: the entire premise of artificial sweeteners, that you can trick your body into experiencing sweetness without consequence, is false. Your body is not fooled. Your insulin response is still triggered. Your gut bacteria are disrupted. Your brain's reward circuit is dysregulated. And on top of all of that, you're adding a neurotoxic synthetic chemical to your body's burden. So let's bring this together. 10 items, and the thread running through all of them is the same. The further a substance is from its natural state, the more it's been processed, stripped, chemically altered, or synthetically constructed, the more damage it does to the incredibly sophisticated biological system that is your body. Real food doesn't need a health claim on the label. Real food doesn't need an ingredient list 20 items long. Real food doesn't need to be engineered to bypass your satiety signals or stimulate your brain into eating more. The most powerful thing you can do for your health right now, today, is not to buy a new supplement or start a new program. It's to look at what's already in your kitchen and ask the question, is this fuel, building blocks and catalysts, or is it a chemical reconstruction masquerading as food? Because your body knows the difference, even when the label is trying to convince you otherwise. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Monroe. If this video gave you something real to think about, share it with someone you care about, because this is information that genuinely matters. And I'll see you in the next one.